I'm looking at trends in the communications industry, trying to understand what are the major security issues, what are some of the solutions people are now starting to come up with. I'm wondering if you can give us an overview.
Yeah, sure. So I think part of what we're seeing is that people are starting to not think about security as a separate thing, that they're thinking about it as part of every other thing they're doing, whether it's an IT initiative for a new application, or if it's a communications initiative to broaden the reach that they have, or the ways in which they communicate with their market and their customers. So security is becoming embedded into those kinds of things. So that's part of what NTT Security is looking at. We work with our operating partners, our operating company partners, Dimension Data, NTT Data, and NTT Communications, to really look at what customers are trying to accomplish from a business perspective, and then give them a solution that can adapt to exactly the threats that they face and the needs that they have with their ecosystem of their IT. So that's a bigger picture level, that's what's happening. But really, what part of making that happen and making that work is having some depth of understanding of, particular security issues that people are facing. NTT Security, as part of NTT, NTT spends almost $2 billion a year on R&D research. And it's a significant amount of that is allocated towards security. So we're looking at other very specific security challenges that then tie into those larger adaptive solutions. For instance, we're working on a trusted initiative platform, MTI platform, for IoT and OT solutions that would give developers a safe ecosystem to work within, to have security services available to them, security detection, authentication, authorization, those kind of capabilities, so they can focus on building the applications and the IoT solutions to meet their customers' needs. So at a high level, we're seeing this security being combined with things, but the reality is down at the granular level for specific challenges, you have to have very specific subject matter expert knowledge to be able to help deliver on that.
It sounds like you bring a lot of resources to the problem. My additional question would be, are we an ocean liner or a battleship with all sorts of armaments, or are we bringing different types of security software development systems to answer client problems?
I think part of it is there are specific solutions that are constantly evolving, right? That will help identify new needs. But from a security standpoint, you have to keep an overall framework in mind and a strategy to address those security issues. So new technologies will come up, new security challenges will come up, but you need that overall strategic framework to be able to operate in. So one of the things NTT Security is talking about here at RSA is NIST CSF, Common Security Framework, how that ties into ISO, and how that helps organizations be able to adapt to change, whether it's new compliance regulations, new government-imposed schemes that they have to adapt to, or new threats out from the environment, and be based on the technologies they're using.
How has customer acceptance been so far?
Oh, it's great. I mean, customers are starting, it starts at the board, right? When we can get the board of directors start to understand that if you want to have a digitalization of your business, if you want to modernize your business and you want to take advantage of these things, you have to start considering the security and privacy implications, right? We saw this past few weeks, right? People be very interested in privacy around Facebook, right? And so those kinds of security and privacy issues are starting to become more and more prominent. And if we can get the board to understand that, then they can make sure that from a business standpoint, they're providing the proper guidance to make sure that the business initiatives are taking into account those privacy and security issues.
It sounds like you do quite a bit of something that we might call selling, convincing management that they need to have a problem.
CSOs do.
Okay.
Right? That's what CSOs do. That's what really good CSOs do, is they identify the risk, right? And part of what we help customers do is to say, it's not about, you have to have data to make business decisions. And if you're not providing the board with the proper set of data, to be able to make the right business decisions, you're not doing an effective job. So part of what CISOs do is they gather that risk information, they're able to quantify it for their board and for their executives so that they can really help make those better decisions. And they sell, right? They sell on enabling the business, not preventing things from happening, but how do we enable the business to run faster? How do we enable the business to get to new markets and use new technologies by effectively using security?
Are there additional examples you'd point to? You've identified Facebook as a case that we're all familiar with of a security breach. Are there other instances you could say if we didn't have this in place, we would have been?
So I'll give you another example of one that did happen. It didn't happen to us, but just recently in the news that we're talking about a company that that had their sensitive customer information exfiltrated through their network, through the thermostat on a fish tank in their lobby.
Wow.
Right? And so this, for whatever reason, whoever put the fish tank in, whoever bought the service to monitor it, keep the fish alive, right, had that thermostat connected to the internet. So that now became a vulnerability point for this multi-million-dollar organization and their customer-sensitive information. So that's when I say going back to having a solid security framework to run your program and having solid programs like vulnerability management, asset identification, threat detection. All those things are critical because you never know when the guy's going to come in your lobby and install a fish tank, right? It's going to introduce a vulnerability to the organization.